Okay, so welcome to District 4. We are on point with information and news, or at least we try to be, right? So we are going to talk about the top trial, and that is the president's hush money trial, and just kind of give some of the dynamics that's happening right now. Now, we have Michael Cohen, who is the former banker who has testified so far. And we're sort of trying to see what kind of picture he was painting. On each side, the defense and the prosecution are sort of painting these two different pictures. Of course, they have two different agendas, but they're using it in sort of similar ways, from my observation so far, from what I can gather. So let's start first with, Michael Cohen. Now, again, the trial is regarding these payments that were made. He meaning the witness, speaks to the fact that these LLCs were created. So we have two of them created, specifically, according to the witness, designed and asked for by Trump in order to cover up these payments. This is where this becomes illegal, right? To pay a prostitute. Well, prostitution is illegal, but to pay an adult film star who you are dating is not illegal, or seeing, or having a moment with, whatever you want to call it. Many people are trying not to call this a relationship. So however you define it, they had moments together, and those moments were not illegal moments. Look at it that way. But when you go to give money to keep quiet during the campaign season, and you pay through LLCs, which looks like an attempt to hide, right? Looks like an attempt to cover up. And then you label them something else. So one of the labels, for example, was real estate payments, I believe it was. I mean, if you want to blatantly say that this is like a legit cover up, allegedly, right? Because it's not been a verdict yet. But you can sort of look at that in a sense to say, why go through all of that if there's no attempt to cover it up? I mean, if there's nothing illegal going on, why would you go through the process to do this? And I think that speaks to the prosecution. The prosecution is basically saying, okay, we have here these LLCs that were created. You were creating them basically to, first of all, hide from your wife. And this is according to the witness. Hide from your wife. That's one element. And the other element could be at the request of Donald Trump to pay these out, right? So you were the one that actually carried these acts out, because hiding from your wife is not necessarily something that involves Donald Trump. So what the attempt here is to break away. You bring up the obvious, right? These are hush money payments that you set up. And you say, yeah, they're set up because Trump asked you. But the real reason, you were hiding from your wife. You were covering up on your own. So it sets the jurors up to lead them into, yes, you've heard this part. The defense has told you this. Yes, we understand. But it really was his doing to do the cover-up part. Now, he might have asked him to give her money. We don't know. You kind of take this sort of landscape where you're just sort of stating the obvious. We have to put everything out there that's obviously happening, but we also want to put a spin on it that creates an understanding that this is not something you need to do. He didn't ask you for that. He meaning the defendant, right? Meaning the president, the former president. So it can be set up to be used that way. It can be set up as if to say, leading, right? Okay, here, okay, yes, you did set these up. Okay, I understand. Oh, and Trump told you to do that? Did he tell you to hide it from your wife? Oh, he didn't. Okay, so you kind of did that on your own. So you can kind of set it up to lead the jurors in that direction, to sort of put doubt there that Trump was actually the person, or the defendant in this case, was actually the person that set up the situation to go the way that it ended up going, meaning that it ended up being sort of hush money. You can also highlight the fact that the former president was already quiet himself, just not trying to make any more waves, because at the time, this video of him and these women on this, news microphone that was still hot, or what they call a hot. And so he wouldn't have made sense for him to necessarily set something up that he could hide. Could he hide anything at that time? So it's kind of that type of feel the prosecution's kind of going. But you have the defense on the other side, and the defense is kind of like, the intensity of all of this, and the fact that you have to sort of work for all of this, and just I was doing what he told me to do. And so there's the feel of, when you examine the witness, you say, so you were under an extreme amount of pressure to the point where you had to not even put this on your wife, because you didn't want her to know what you were going through. You didn't want her to know how stressful and how difficult all of this was going. She can kind of spin his testimony either way. But you cannot take away the fact that he was an integral part in this potential cover-up. And it will leave the jurors for question. So you cannot take away the weight of this witness's testimony, because it has to be used as gravity for both sides, because he was such a main part of it. Now, you could go either way and say it however you choose to say it, but the situation is still the same. We also talk about the fact that this gag order situation has been taking place, and that Trump did speak to the press about Michael Cohen, and prior to him even being, heavily examined on the witness stand, about how he was, accused by Donald Trump. He's saying that he was a liar, and he had already gotten caught in lies in trial. And why would it be any different now? This you can't do, because what it really does is put out there questions in the minds of anybody who's seen this information. That is why a gag order is put in place, to not give out any type of information, not only that's confidential, but also that may sway one way or the other. And that's part of a gag order, whether people understand that or not, it is a part of it. So in order to not do that, you just have to just sort of not speak to the press. So they just gag it. We don't want anybody talking about any of this trial to anyone, and in particularly the media type of thing. And he just violated it, allegedly, because this is the 11th charge. Now, it's getting to the point now, according to the judge, where the credibility is being lost in all of these accusations, because there's not a lot of evidence. Those are not my words. That is coming from what the judge said regarding the situation and all of these accusations, charges, for lack of a better description, about this gag order. So, I mean, did the judge actually rule? Not really. So we don't really have anything solid coming from him to say, listen, you will not speak, or, we're going to penalize you. This is going to happen. It was nothing like that. It's more of a, listen, we need to stop this, because we have a trial going on and we need to focus on the issue at hand. So, I mean, I sort of got that vibe, not more of the vibe that they meaning the judge, was trying to avoid anything or was trying to brush anything under the rug, but more to stick to the points that are important so that they can get through this trial and get a ruling. All right, so that's really, like I said, I don't want to go too long on these videos. I want you to get a chance to listen to them. Is he a believable witness? Yes. I mean, he has credibility there, however you take it, which is why it is very important for both sides to be careful with how they use the information to sway the jury in the closing arguments. Because that's that fine line that a lot of these witnesses will have. They will have a level of credibility going into I mean, these aren't really just regular witnesses, so to speak. These aren't just, regular, like a store owner or something like that. These are people that work in these fields. These are people that are well versed in what they're doing. And these are people that are at the top of the game of what they're doing because of who they were working for. Love or hate whomever, political or in politics, but you have to admit that there's a structure there and there's a level of quality of work to even be there. To the jurors, they see it that way. They see it as, okay, the quality of work must be high or this person wouldn't even be in this position. So you have to not badger them. There's no way to badger a witness in it. You can't do that in this particular type of case. I mean, you can, but it's not going to look good for the jurors. You can lead and sort of do it with a fine line of sternness, but you can't just go in like you would if this was like a regular trial, like these were just regular witnesses. It's just not going to look good for either side, whomever chooses to do that. It's important to keep your frustrations under control because you cannot, I mean, in the eyes of the jurors, it's just going to look terrible if you're going in at these well-educated, highly qualified people. You want to make it so, I mean, that you're sort of gingerly leading them to tell the story that you have to tell, because it's all going to lead into those closing arguments, which is going to be very important in this particular case. How you wrap it up and what you highlight. So sometimes the opening statement is a lot more, and then you get into trial and realize, ooh, I need to make corrections here. I don't think that's the case here. I don't think we have, oh, let me just correct the opening argument. No, what you need to do is really make sure you paid close attention to the other side during this trial and close those holes in their case. In my opinion, right? I'm not in the trial, right? So I would just say it looks like that if I was looking at it from a juror's point of view. All right, so speaking of wrapping it up, let's do it. We'll hit this trial a little bit more, and we will also talk some of the other trials. And this afternoon we have some stuff coming up with regards to some top trials, some top stories. That's what we do here, and I enjoy it, and I thank those of you that continue to follow us. Check out our TikToks, but more importantly, make sure you like and subscribe and make comments. We love to hear them, and I definitely listen to them because, again, I'm doing trials. The OnlyFans trial, for example, came from a request. I really wasn't thinking about doing that trial. I had heard about it, but I really was not going to detail it too much until they said, listen, this is a good trial for you. We want to hear your take on it. All right, thank you so much, and I will see you guys next time.